how do you make sure that your patients feel seen and heard and valued in your practice?
Simple answer, you just look at them and listen to them. Here's how I teach my associate. Think about what you do when you talk to a kid. You are so focused, all the attention on them, and you just talk to them. And then you stop and listen. And that's the same thing with a consult. I just ask a question, tell me everything about exactly why you're coming in, what do you need help from me? And I stop and I listen, as in I'm like listening to a kid. And the moment that you listen, people feel heard. We have a big quote in our practice that say the power that make the body heals the body. And I wonder how many chiropractors actually owns that. I empower my patients to be knowing that it's their body doing the job, it's not me.
Winnie Wong, welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Winnie, it's a great pleasure. We have a mutual friend in Billy Chow, and I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for a long time. I think we probably first met over in Adelaide. I was doing a little DG speech over there, and you really impressed me there. And then numerous times since then, you've just kind of popped up. I have the absolute pleasure of helping you in your practice with some marketing and working with one of the greatest CAs Georgia, so who's now going to become a chiropractor as well. And so I chatted to Billy and I said, Billy, do you think that I really want to have Winnie on the podcast? And he said she would be amazing. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So thank you for coming on. Let's start with this. Can you share with us a little bit about your journey as a chiropractor? What was it that kind of inspired you? What is it that brings you to kind of where we are today?
I got into chiropractic wanting to help people. But the side story is I got into chiropractic without knowing what chiropractic is. And because it was my backup plan.
What was first on the list?
Physiotherapy.
No, I get it. You're not alone there. I know there are many. In fact, I know for me, had I got the marks out of year 12, then I may well have done medicine. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me that I became a chiropractor.
Yes.
Where was it? Can you remember the moment when you really got inspired about chiropractic? So it was a kind of second thing as a backup plan. When did it become something that you fell in love with?
I fell in love after I graduated.
Right.
Yes.
Tell me more.
I think it was probably at least a year and a half in. I went into this seminar called Kairos training. It used to call Adjusting Ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the best ever adjustment ever. And it's not only physical, it's emotional as well. I'm like, that's what chiropractic is. And the adjustment lasted for a long time. And that's when I got inspired. It's like, okay, other than pushing a bone back in place, there's something else in chiropractic. And then since then, that's when I start going into learning more tonal stuff.
So prior to that moment, your journey in chiropractic through studying in the first 18 months was really a kind of mechanical approach for back painy type sort of stuff. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit more about the emotional change that you noticed with that adjustment?
Well, first, I cried straight away after the adjustment.
Right.
It was crazy. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what that emotion is because stereotype Asian. We do block out the emotions. That I actually don't know what was it, but it was just tears coming out. And it doesn't just happen at that time of adjustment. It was that night and the next day. And it was funny in a way that I got so clear after the adjustment. The week after, I told my boss at that time, I'm leaving the job. It's time to go. And
did you?
it was just that got into that moment. I'm like, okay, I got so much clarity that I just need to leave this place to go and explore. Not that my first associate is not good. My boss, it's very philosophical, and he has been just teaching me all philosophy things, but it never clicked in me until I had that adjustment that everything started falling into place. I'm like, that's what he means. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot more out there. I need to go and explore.
And what were you looking for when you were going to explore? What did that journey look like?
What was I looking for? It's how can I help more people? with adjustment only, with an
Right.
adjustment only, because of that big impact of one adjustment can just change so much things.
And was it so? It was wanting to help them experience what you had with that adjustment.
It was, but not only that. So the other story is I wanting to help people. It's because I got a scoliosis. And it's not a small one. It's a 36-degree one, and it runs in the family. And of course, first 2 years I was still suffering with like I still get aches and pains all the time. Um, it was funny because I just realized that I haven't had, fingers crossed, period pain for ages. And it
Mm.
used to be I have painkillers in my pocket every month when period comes. And it was after chiropractic, that's when I realized, oh, it disappeared. It's like, how can I deliver the same thing? At the same time, for me, it's empowering more of those people, just like me, who had a scoliosis or any other thing, that they just think that it's going to be stuck like that. And it was very liberating when I understand what chiropractic does on how it changes the nervous system. That, yeah, it was just like I want to give the exact same thing for other people.
On on the journey of exploration, where did you go and what did you find?
Where did I go? I went to a lot of Tono seminars,
Yep.
BGI, network, all these things. And it has been amazing. But I still manually adjust, but it gives me a different lens on how I see chiropractic. I was literally just talking to the team just earlier at a team meeting. How I see chiropractic, it's people are not staying. It's how I can have the nervous system continue to evolve. And this evolution is going to help humanity.
Mhm. You for a long time, and I don't know if you still did, but you traveled a long way to get your adjustments. Can you tell a little bit about that story?
Yes. So I have two great chiropractors, network chiropractors that look after me. One is Ewan in Sydney, one is Ben in Adelaide. And I do travel from time to time to go see them.
Yes. And just for our people that Winnie's in Canberra. And so we have an audience from, so it's an hour flight to Sydney almost, and then 2 hours to Adelaide. Is that about what it is?
It's a 3 hour drive to Sydney, and then I think it's an hour and a half flight to Adelaide.
Yeah. So these aren't close. How often at your most frequent were you doing that?
At my most frequent, when I'm the most stressed, every week
Yeah. And
I
why
alternate.
do you do that?
Why do I do that? Because I know how, with the care that I get, it got my nervous system in a more stable and calm phase. That I'm able to manifest more. I'm able to do a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's what I told my chiropractor is that the amount of time and energy and probably money that I spend on going to see them is probably less than the amount that I can earn. It's like if I see, put it this way, if I have a migraine and I screw up one new patient report and that's it, or if I'm not connected in a way that I feel it's most congruent to me, that I feel like it's a disservice to the people that I serve.
Mm.
It's keeping me in the top shape.
Yeah. And so you notice that there is a relationship between what your output in life is and how your spine and nervous system is working. Yeah.
Mhm. So the
And
crazy time it's I will see them once a week, and most of the time it's every 3 weeks, put it this way. But I just
yes.
know that when I'm the most stressed, that's when I will go on. Yeah.
And then do you get checked in between by somebody closer or you just leave it with your network practitioners?
Depends on how my body feels. My associate do
Yes.
adjust me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward a little. How long into the journey was it before you opened up Capital Chiropractic, the practice that you're in now?
So I'm on my ninth year out. So if I wind back, I opened in 2019. So it's 5 years ago.
5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
By most people's standards, in terms of the income that the practice brings in, the volume of people that you care for, the reputation of the practice has been and is a really great success. What has been the key to that early and really fast success?
It's authenticity.
Okay. Tell me
Uh,
more about that.
my great mentor, my coach, Josh Wagner, he wanted me, when I started my practice, he wanted me to start a practice just like how I want it to be in 10 years' time. So I started everything, as in everything that is congruent with me. Because I work as associate, work at other practices before, and there are things that it kind of doesn't resonate with me. There are things that I love. So the practice is kind of like everything consolidated together. As in, like, these are the things that I want, these are the things that I don't want in my practice. I started like that. And when you start being authentic, you become that primary oscillator and you start attracting those people. And all I need to ask myself is like, is it congruent with me? Even just going out doing marketing, even just going out talking to people, even just delivering a report will be like, is it congruent with me? And that's my compass all the time. Is like, okay, is it where I want to be?
So in terms of rather than because many of us when we start things we have a plan with where we want to get to in 10 years time and like okay well I'll behave that way when I get to that and I'll do that when I've been in year for practice for 2 years. Your vision right from start was how do I want it to be in 10 years and I'm going to start to behave that way right from day one. Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's the concept of do, have. You
Mm,
be the person you want to be in 10 years. You do the things that that person would do, and you're going to have it.
yeah. As opposed to the reverse side of that, most people go, well, I will behave that way when I have what you have. Like it's easy for you to do that once you've got this amount of money in the bank. It's really easy for you to behave that way too. You talked about the benefit of having a coach. How important was that for you in starting up your practice?
Super. Um, my first boss, he actually said to me when I first started, he's like, over my entire career, I've never had a time that I don't have a coach.
Mm,
So that's planted in my mind that is that I need a coach all the time. So Josh, I've been coaching with Josh probably for 3 years,
mm,
or maybe four, I don't know. Around that time, that he has been the one that is, of course, he will support you when you're stressed. Just clear your mind to find out what is most important. But at the same time, he is the one that see what is possible in me and push me that way.
great.
Yeah.
What other things? So you have somebody who sees possibility in you. What other things have been helpful about having a coach, whether it be Josh or just kind of bigger concepts? What other things have you found helpful?
Someone that it's a sounding board that I could just throw ideas around,
Uh-huh.
but also someone that could connect me with someone else. But put it this way, ultimately, how I see it's that I need to reinvest in myself.
Mm,
It's like money will come, but then money will come and go. But what will always stays in me is the knowledge that I actually get. So for me, it's just like, how can I get more knowledge? That I know that even if fingers crossed, even if I fail, I use this exact same knowledge that I have
mm.
and I could do the same thing again. And that's the idea when I open my practice. Because before I open my practice, that's a story that Josh used to say. I actually grew a locum practice from 80 to 200 in 3 months.
Wow.
And for me, I know that I have that knowledge. I have the ability to grow a practice. So it's kind of like when I open my practice, I know that I have that skill. I know I have the knowledge. Even if I fail in opening my practice, I could just go back and work for someone else and I could earn the exact same amount. Just that it won't be things that it's completely congruent with me. So that's my drive when I open my practice. It's just that I have that knowledge, I can do it. And because I have that, once opening my practice, it was like, okay, I have this knowledge. How can I help more chiropractors? It started with coaching more chiropractors for Josh, and then it goes on to, okay, I could hire an associate, and then another one that they could learn the exact same thing, that the skills they could transfer it when they move. And to be honest, Canberra is such a transient place that people just come and go all the time. And what I want is they learn the basic skills for them to be able to just go thrive in somewhere else.
One of the things, Winnie, I noticed about you, and I think it's one of the things I admire most about you, is you're an incredible student. You're a great learner. What do you think it is that makes a great student?
It's being humble. I I'm great at what I do. I own that. But at the same time, I know there's always someone that is better than me. Just like I got Georgia to coach with you. Because I'm like, look, there's someone else that's way better than me, have better knowledge, that you better just learn from someone else to do that thing. Same as marketing. It was like, well, there's another guy that's better than me in doing it. Why don't I just learn from it? Instead of me trying to figure this myself, there's always someone better than me that I could learn. But at the same time, it's having that confidence that I'm good enough already.
Mm,
Otherwise, I'm just learning from a void that I'm not good enough. I need to learn from the place that I'm good enough. It's just how can it be better so that I could evolve and help more people?
yes. I think one of the things that I have noticed is how quickly that you implement on things at different seminars and even at not be anything relevant to me, but I see you really quickly going from learning into implementation. There's this theme, when I was looking forward to having this conversation with you, when we think about a successful person, they're often really quite extroverted, they're loud, they're big personalities. And there's elements of that that you have, but this humbleness, this self confidence, it's not how I would describe Winnie. And yet you have this, you've been able to achieve really great things. Where did that self confidence come from that I'm enough? If I fail, I can get through? Is that always been there, or is that something that you have learned as an adult?
Part of it, it's there because as a kid, I was in the Army Cadet. So for me, it's like it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. Just follow the system. Try again, try again, try again. But I have done a lot of inner work, a lot of meditation, what Josh called the clearing process, to work through some of the inner stuff that have been a roadblock for where I want to be.
Mm. Can you
And
expand on that in terms of what are some of the roadblocks that you've had to work through?
well, if you ask me 5 years ago, I'm probably learning from a place of I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
And I'm proud to say probably now that I own that I'm good enough. Even though sometimes things would pop up, like, nope, okay, I'm actually good enough. Here's the things that I do. This is what I call a patch it. It's just like, okay, these are the things that I do. I know it that I'm just good enough. I'm good enough for what I do. It's just how can I help more people?
Tell me more about that because that, as someone that's coached and worked with a lot of chiropractors, that's a theme for all of us, myself included at different stages there too. Is am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I lovable? Versions of that. How have you overcome that?
Oh, you have to ask Josh. You have to ask Josh about his deserving process. What the meditation work, it's people would avoid that feeling of I'm not good enough. Whereas with what Josh talked about, or even Pat Palmer talk about the clearing process, is you have to hold that emotion as long as possible with that I'm not good enough emotion. And you dig deeper and deeper and deeper. What is your childhood memory? Because what happens as a kid, that's how it starts shaping our life. That's how it
Mm,
shapes our nervous system. And emotions is energy, emotion. And once you hold on that energy, the vibration start changing. You start holding on a vibration, that vibration transform into something else.
Mm.
But the reason why people keep having that thought coming up, it's because they have been suppressing it. So it just amplifies. But for me, it's just like, okay, I go in, I spend my time on that, it has transformed into something else.
So the value of when that feeling of I'm not good enough, as opposed to trying to just shift over the top of it or have an affirmation, is actually dive in and find out where does that come from, and whether it's a childhood event and something happened to us, someone spoke to us. Once we find that event from there too, what do we do with it?
You just hold on to the emotion until it melts away.
Right.
And I'm still meditating every single day. I started with started coaching with Josh in 2018. So I've been doing that for 6 years.
Mm.
And it was holding on me probably for at least a year to work through that.
Yeah,
And
powerful.
it's just consistency.
Your approach to patient care, from the conversations we have, seems really unique. I'm interested in this. How do you make sure that your patients feel seen and heard and valued in your practice?
Simple answer. You just look
Uh-huh.
at them and listen to them.
Yeah.
But we could go deeper. Here's how I teach my associate. Think about what you do when you talk to a kid. You are
Yep.
so focused, all the attention on them, and you just talk to them. And then you stop and listen. And that's the same thing with a consult. I just ask a question. Tell me everything about exactly why you're coming in. What do you need help from me? And I stop and I listen as in I'm like listening to a kid. And the moment that you listen, people feel heard. But I think the magic is also for my ability to be able to listen to that story, transform that story, retelling their story, and then show them the path on how I can empower them what is possible. And the moment that they feel heard, you've got the connection, and then I just tell them, hey, if we start this thing called chiropractic, or if you're a chiropractic candidate, here's what is possible.
Mm. What? So inside of that journey, it's listen, it's be present with them as we would with a child there too. Mirror back to them in terms of what you heard, um, check in for that, and then let them know what's possible for them. Are they the key steps there?
Mm-hmm.
And then where does that fit into? Like, do you have a philosophy in around patient education? Is that a big part of what happens on visit 1 or 2 or 3? Is that, or where does that fit into your practice?
Well, he's Malcolm would say, I don't educate enough. Or even you would say, I don't educate enough. Um, at the top core value for the practice, we just discussed it earlier, it's empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
We have a big quote in our practice that say the power that made the body heals the body. And I wonder how many chiropractor actually owns that.
Mm.
I empower my patients to be knowing that it's their body doing the job, it's not me. And it's just, I don't educate them on, you need to get adjusted, blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
I educate them on being aware of what they are doing to the body. How is it going to impact the spine and nervous system? And it's just empower them to make choices because the second value for my practice is balance. It's how people can balance their work and their life.
Well, speaking of balance, what do you find most difficult about running a practice, teaching associates, and the other teaching work that you do? How do you maintain balance? What's difficult for you?
What was difficult for me is I used to have a very strict boundaries between my patient days, my off days, and my admin days. That was difficult for me. That was difficult for me to just stick to that. And I get frustrated if I'm doing work on rest days. But then what has been working so far is I have this kind of just a flexible schedule in a way that I know that Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is my patient day. And then I need to make sure that every week I got 2 full days that are my rest day. And then the other 2 days are for me to focus on the business. Could be training associates, could be admin, could be finance, all the things. And sometimes it could be I have half a day that is doing business thing, other half is my rest day. And it has been working. And what has been difficult, it's also other people around me that don't respect that boundary. Yes, it's those people who don't respect my boundaries. That's how it start breaking into it. But it's saying no to people. It was difficult for me to say no to people. I actually on my phone on a screensaver for probably 2 years, it says you get to where you are by saying yes. You get to where you want to be by saying no.
Got it. And what has helped you be better at saying no?
That's screensaver. The
That just
moment
that
that
gives
I
you a
turn on
reminder.
my phone, it's just like, yep, I just need to say no.
Um, so in amongst this, what do you see as kind of the next vision for practice for you? Where are you going? So this next 10 years, what does that look like?
It looks like having associate, teaching more associate. At the same time, I would love to teach more student
Mhm.
because put it this way, I could only teach one new graduate a year. But if I can start teaching more student, which I did last year, but this year, if I can start teaching more student, the quality of the new graduates would be
Mhm.
different. And of course, I could help even more chiropractors. But it's sad to see how many new graduate actually drops out within the first few years.
It's
And
wild.
a lot, they don't get their foundation. And they feel like they're a salesperson when they come out, or they are not good at adjusting. They just think that this is how you adjust. Put it this way, I was like that for the first year, just putting bone in and out of place. That's what I know with adjusting. But then it changes. And for me, it's just like, how can I more help more of this newer generation?
What is the message? Like, what advice do you want to give to whether it be young chiropractors starting out or chiropractors that are perhaps more experienced that are struggling? What are they missing? What do you want to share with them?
I don't want to say keep trying because people will take it the other way. I would say keep reinvesting in yourself.
Mhm.
It's just like finding the right help to learn the things that you can to improve yourself.
And are there mistakes that you see chiropractors continually making that you go, you're just doing this and this and this, and this is what's holding you back?
I make mistakes all the time.
Uh huh.
I think the mistake is not making enough mistakes.
Ah, beautiful.
I'm wrong all the time. And my series is like, okay, let's try it. Oh, this doesn't work. Okay, try something else. Just like the other day you told Georgia, our social media look boring. It's like that. It's okay to make mistakes, but I think we are not making enough mistakes. Not in the patient care view. It's in a view of how I can be better.
Mm,
Because we stay complacent with what we are doing. And because we are too afraid of making mistakes, we don't go out and learn what next, what is better for my people. It's not that you have to make mistakes in adjusting, never, please.
mm,
You have to show up 100% to your patients every day to deliver the best adjustment. I'm not talking about that. Let's say you make mistakes on that. But it's just like how you can make mistakes to learn more to get you even better. Coming back
Yeah.
from that place that you're good enough.
Yeah. I know one of my teachers taught me once. She said that B minus will make you very rich. And this idea of letting go of perfection was a really great thing that I learned from her. And I think there are some areas that we want to be careful. We want to be as great as we possibly can with our adjustments. But even with that too, we're not great to begin with, most of us, when we start out. And if we learn a new technique, then we're possibly not going to be great at that first time off. If it's if you've never learned how to side posture somebody, it's a really difficult motor skill, and you're probably going to suck at it for the first 1,000 times that you try it. So, but the way that we get better at it is by continuing to work our way through that. You've talked about some of the habits. You've talked about kind of meditation and your days off and things like that too. Are there other habits as well that you kind of have on a weekly basis that really help you support a really growing, thriving practice?
Finance.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Most chiropractors hate talking about money.
Mm. Let's
Um,
talk about money.
but it's just like if you can't manage your money well, you can't go anywhere. I've seen practices who are like seven-figure practice, but they actually earn a lot less profit than a like 500 grand practice because they're just not managing money well. And I guess I s- I started with a good habit, good in a way, good enough habit when I first started out that my dad just told me, put this percentage into savings, put this into like reinvesting in yourself to learn, and put this into like your daily spending. You don't spend anything more than that. And I do that every single week, go into my bank account, as in the business bank account, look into how much did we collect last week. These are the buckets that I allocate into, which is the Profit First model, the book
Mm.
by what is the Mike? I forgot his last name.
Kalowitz or something like that. It
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the Profit First model that I go through that every single week because what I also learned from DeMartini is that if you draw out that 10% every week and you only use that remaining 90% as your operating cost, you start growing. And
Mm.
that's what I start doing is that I just pull that 10% out straight away. And I just need to work out how I can use the remaining 90% to make it work for my practice. As the
Okay.
practice
So,
continue to grow, you need to earn more to make that up. And as long as you stay with the percentage, as you continue growth, you're pulling more out.
and so it's 10% that you'll take out for personal savings. There too, and then there's some for spending, and then the rest is left in there, or are there other buckets that you have as well?
There is the bucket for tax, of course.
Yes. Yes.
There's a bucket for tax. There is a bucket for savings. There's bucket for growth. I reinvest 15% into growth of my team, of myself. And then of course there will be business expense.
What kind of things would growth be? What fits into growth?
Seminars,
Uh huh.
coaching for myself, coaching. My associate got a separate coach as well. My CA, Georgia, got a separate coach as well. That's growth.
Okay.
But there's another type of growth for me, it's investment. Um, tell my associates all the time, it's like you're gonna earn great money in my practice. And same for me. It's just like if I continue to do what I'm doing, I'll be fine for the rest of my life. But I want to create financial freedom in a way that I don't need to work. I know that I don't need to work with what I'm generating passively, but I still want
Mm.
to work. I keep telling patients I'm going to keep working till 95.
And how is that journey going for you now? That passive income generating journey.
Um, Building on some investment at the
Uh
moment
huh.
and diversifying it. And there's a really good book called She is on the Money that I suggest
Okay.
everyone read it. It's good to learn how you manage. I never know that I could play something around with my super, my investment as well. Even just talking about interest rate, I'm like, oh my God, yeah. it just blows my mind in a way that you put a savings into earning interest is actually not as desirable than you putting money into your offset and lower your interest, if that makes sense to you. Because you pay tax on the amount of interest that you earn. So
Yes.
it's concepts like that that I just like, okay, he's the next level. He's the next level.
I love it, Winnie. You have continued to um, amaze and intrigue me. I feel like I've got a better understanding of who Dr. Winnie Wong is as well. You have such a love of helping people, which I do too. I kind of feel like we're kindred spirits on that pathway. And we have a number of chiropractors, young and old, that listen to this. And you've talked about before, make more mistakes. But in some final thoughts here, if you had some other things that you wanted to share with them as well, what else would you like to kind of share with chiropractors who are wanting to perhaps grow their practice, improve their lives, have more impact?
Don't stay in your own island. Just reach out and just reach out. There are great mentors in this chiropractic profession. And I'm fortunate enough that I have coaches or even just chiropractors with more experience than me. They're so willing to share things. Some of my investment knowledge come from my other chiropractor friends. It's just like you just need to reach out. And I've seen too many people that just stays in their little island. And because we graduate with a certain idea of chiropractic, and then we start exploring more, it start feeling like I'm different from my cohort. I stop reaching out to my people until you go back again. It's just like, okay, it's okay if our philosophy is different, but we are probably in this stage of life in a way that we're running business. There's something that we could pick our brains. And sometimes it's just like talking to another person just from the place of curiosity. Just like I listen to our patients, I just have a chat with another chiropractor. There's always something to learn from someone else.
Well, Winnie, I have absolutely learnt from you today, and I'm sure loads of our listeners will have we've learnt an enormous amount as well. So thank you for all that you have done and will continue to do, and for being so generous with us today. Yours is a journey that I just can't wait to continue to watch over the next decade to see the impact that you have. So thanks for joining us on the Marketing Your Practice podcast.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.